live investing report, and we just finished the 4th week of July. The month of July actually has 5 weeks, so we do have 1 week left. Since it was right before the last week of the month, I did the buying. Didn't actually have any selling. This was what it looked like. So under the check, that's the pre-market, I checked in the afternoon. Because I live in China and so we're 12 hours ahead, so usually I need to check before 9:30 p.m. So I had lots of time to do that. The check, I saw 5 different possible buys for the no bull list. And when the market opened and I checked it at 11:30, I had only 2 available. So I ended up buying those 2, ADM and PPG. So I have like a guide that I created. So if it's down at all, I put $10. If it's down 5%, I put $20. If it's down 10%, then I put everything in for the quarter. At the top, you can see the amounts for the quarter and for the year left to buy stocks with. And I also have a guide for each stock, how much is left for them for the quarter and the year. I can see for ADM, I've used a lot of the investment, and PPG also pretty much used everything. So they haven't had a very good year. But then I checked SPYD. I had 2 options. LYB was close, GILD was close. Then when the market was open, I checked at 11:30. They both were up even higher, so I did not buy anything. SPYD has been doing pretty well, and so I haven't actually bought that much this year. I think put a decent amount into 2 stocks, and then I had a third one I put a little in, and that was it. Then the week, so it was a bit of a rough week. There was a rough point at least. S&P 500 and NASDAQ finished negative for the week. Still had some positive things. Utilities was the number 1 green stock. Consumer discretionary was the number 1 red stock. And then here's the actual portfolios. So everything was red except for Noble and SPYD, which were in the Roth. And so they had a pretty good week. You can see the 2022 rankings also destroyed their normal index and the 2023 ranking. Then we get to the unrealized gain weekly check. Saw some changes. 1 red flipped to green, actually went way up. Since the first week, we've seen another red turn to green. So now we're down to 2 reds and 1 purple, and the rest are green. SPYD, we now have everything green. Even the index, and all the stocks are green. We head into last week, and usually the last week is green because all the companies are trying to buy and get everything looking nice for the end of the month. And I took the picture of this news article because it explains there were a couple days that were really red, which ended up making the week pretty red. And it was because of the tech sell-off. You can also look at the tech for the week. It was down, I think, 2.5%. That's why, because there was a tech sell-off. Was there any reason for it? It says despite interest rates being at their highest in more than 20 years, the S&P 500 has reached multiple record highs, leading to some worry over excessive exuberance. So I think people are just getting worried because it's so high. They're just selling because of that. It's not any company doing poorly or the U.S. market doing poorly. It's just people are worried when it's getting really high. So now we check the live portfolios. And again, Roth is Noble, SPYD, single stocks, Tira, S&P 500, 11 X sector ETFs, GDivs. These are some global companies. Forex Holding is only the euro right now. And US Divs is a mix of pretty much everything, except for the global companies and the Forex holdings. M1 Finance. So we got a couple more dividend payments. This is for year to date, and so it's been a pretty volatile year for the Roth portfolio. But overall, it's up, and it's up 9%. So that's pretty good. $65 $8 share price and then $21 dividends. And we can see the pies. So Noble single stocks are actually moved up and they're beating the SPYD single stocks even more now. And then SPYD is also beating Noble, which is not a surprise. Actually, SPYD beating Noble is not a surprise, but the single stocks beating SPYD are. That is a surprise. So we look at our top 8. We now have almost everything in the top 8, 20% or more. We do have one 16%. And SWK just had a really good week, and so they were able to push up. And then at bottom, now we have 3 greens. Last week we only had 2 greens in the bottom 8, so hopefully we'll slowly turn everything green. And Gilead, AMCR have had a good surge in the right direction recently. Cisco, Chevron, and Franklin Resources are pretty much the same. So we move on to Tira. Nothing really happening to the cash, no dividends. And for the week, it went down a bit. Now we're just under 13% year to date. SPYD up 15%, sector ETFs up 10%. On top 6, we've got communications services past tech, because tech had a really bad week. Financials past SPLG. SPLG went down because that's the index tracking the S&P 500. And then at the bottom, we had some movement actually at the bottom. Utilities pushed into up 10%. So now we only have one holding here that's below being up 10%. And then we join Interactive Brokers. So the GDivs, they had a rough week once again. They went down a little bit in the beginning and then just stayed the same. I don't expect much to change for that until maybe September, October, when the interest rates start getting cut in America. All of these are in foreign currencies, and so they're going to have a lot of push against the US dollar when the interest rate cuts start happening. But we did actually gain $3 in that portfolio. In our top 6, we moved up a little bit. FTR went up 8%, and that's really the only change I remember. So the Forex, the euro went down a little bit. And then US divs, of course, we went down. And I also did buying, so the overall cash went down too. I think I spent $30 in the buys. Still up over 1,000% for the year. Most of the cash in the account is from early December. It's pretty good, and looks like that last day, Friday, we had $97. So actually dropped below 1,000 before Friday, and Friday was just a good day, so we were able to push back. And here, pretty much all the same. And bottom 8, GILD moved out of the bottom 8, and PPG is still here, but I did a buy on Thursday, and it's gone up since then about 2%. So it's going in the right direction, might move out of the bottom 8, and then we just have the 10% dividends in here. And then we have a forecast, and then I saw a picture of the US GDP change since 2019, which was before COVID. So we saw NMFC +1 holds. Gilead went from a hold to an underperform. Well, they had a big surge recently, so that's not a surprise. Then Rio goes from hold to buy. BP buy. Chevron buy. PSX buy. RC buy. And those, I think those are all new analysis because there's no subtraction anywhere. And the same thing for the next row. RE buy, NMFC buy, and then PM, they just removed the holds and didn't do anything. RC buy. So those are all the forecasts. Those are from an analyst, not me, just for the record. And then real GDP percent change compared to pre-pandemic levels. This comes from OECD stats and ONS. So US has been up 8.6%. And we also see other countries. I think these are all G7 countries. Canada 4.9, Italy 4.6, France 3.3, Japan 2.5, UK 1.8, Germany 0.3. So you see America's doing very well compared to the pre-pandemic levels. And that's it.